I am Evelyn Zumaya, the author of Astral Affairs Rambova, and I want to read my book to you. The transcripts of the 11 seance transmissions from Rudolph Valentino on the astral plane, which Natasha Rambova titled Revelations, were first published in serialized format by Bernard McFadden in the New York Evening Graphic throughout the spring of 1927. Revelations 4 through 7. The Fourth Revelation, Juan Lapin, September 1926. Because I knew something about life after death before I came over, it has not taken me long to find myself. That is, to acclimate myself to these new conditions. My automatic writings that you enjoyed so much, Natasha, taught us a great deal. You remember the writings given from the spirits of Jenny, Messalope, Blackfeather, Oscar, and many others. We did not always pay as much attention to them as we should have. It was just so interesting to find them interesting. It is difficult to put real help and advice into our daily lives, isn't it? But since I have come over, the memory of these writings has served to put me in closer touch with life as it really is, and not the false aspect often given out by people who know little to nothing about it. And my natural powers of observation have helped me to progress quicker than if I were slower in that respect. I find that our powers in the body are about the same, but heightened to a considerable degree when we are freed from it. I am now the same old Rudy you knew before, only now I am Rudy heightened in perceptive facility. And I seem to feel emotions more keenly, too. Spirits tell me this is because I am still in my astral desire body. The earth body itself does not feel. It is only a material covering or shell for the astral body, which does feel. I am so glad to be able to tell you this so that when you have a sort of pain, you will know it is not in your earth body, but in your astral body. Spirits have shown me how easily the astral body can be vitalized by currents of vitality. They say these vitalizing currents are the life emanations of God. When the astral body is cut off from this supply, it cries out in pain, which is really a warning to you to try and bring it into contact again with the currents of healing. When this is done, the cause of pain is, of course, removed and the pain ceases. HPB has shown me how this astral body often withdraws itself from the physical body. This happens to people who are in deep sleep. At night I have seen your astral body emerge from your physical body, and I have been able to get very close to your consciousness and talk to you. You have sometimes remembered this vaguely upon awakening, and thought it only to be a dream. But it was no dream. It was the living reality. When George goes into his trance, his astral body comes out. In the earth life, when this happens, the astral body is connected to the physical body by a shining cord, which seems to be attached to the head. I do not yet understand just how this is, but this is what I have myself seen. Spirits have also told me that when anesthetic is given, the astral body emerges, and that is why there is no longer any sensation left in the physical body. This is all interesting to me. When people on earth are able to heal others by putting their hands upon them, it is because they are simply allowing the vital currents to flow through them into a devitalized part of the body. I learned a lot of this at some lectures I attended, Natasha. You would love the lectures here. There are places they called centers. To me they look like temples. They are white and very lofty and beautiful. I thought they were of stone, but the spirit of George's guide, Henry Watts, told me they were constructed of the white thought force of truth and faith. Everything seems to be made of one or another kind of thought force. The thought substance, it seems, is far more solid and enduring than the stones or metals of the earth world. This is hard to realize. It does not look at all as one would suppose thought force ought to look. I always imagined it to be a misty, cloudy-like sort of thing, and here it is more solid and colorful than the solid objects on Earth. Life is truly amazing, and I love it more and more. I've seen some amazing houses here, some like little villas, and others much more imposing and magnificent. These, it seems, belong to people who were quite humble in the earth life, even poor. But they were people who had not denied shelter to those who needed it. They had divided their meals with those who were hungry. And on account of their generosity, they have found these places built for them out of the thought substance of their own actions. It seems very thrilling to me, and I could not keep back the tears when I realized how this was done. The houses are built by the spirits who have learned to mold this thought force. They are always built just as the people who live in them would like to have them. The spirit builders know how to do this by looking into people's unconsciousness, where it seems the mental pictures of all they love and desire are stored. Some of the houses are only partly built, as enough thought substance has not yet been sent over from unselfish actions. There are also large places, like various kinds of hotels, where people who have no such homes are kept for a while. There are the selfish, uncharitable ones who have not shared. These are the people who have denied assistance to those who are in need. I knew lots of people like that, and now I'm sorry for them. These people are talked to, but not in a preachy sort of way, and are taken to see plays showing up such subjects. There is even a way of showing them picture-like flashes of their own past actions. This is the nearest thing to a motion picture that I have seen. But it is not like that. It is all done by thought processes. HPB says it is the instructive incidents in a soul's past brought forward and out of the astral light. This is all done in the hope that people will realize their mistakes and start to change their attitudes of thought. If they do desire to change, work is at once given to them. There is plenty of work everywhere. They are given what they are most adapted to. And that way they lose sight of self in seeing others being helped, and so begin to form the thought substance that will build their homes. If they do not desire to change, but hang on to their old ideas stubbornly, they are turned out to wander alone. No one feels at all sorry for them. This surprised me very much at first. But how can you change their minds to begin to earn all they desire? They are fools, to say the least. I am told they do not wander around very long. The supreme indifference by which they are met soon brings them to their senses. I have seen some very beautiful houses that belonged to people who were wealthy on earth, but they were people who never failed to help others. They shared. They realized what their wealth was for. At first, when I heard all about this, I began to think it was wrong to try and get rich in earth life. But HPB tells me this is not so. She says it is right for people to be rich if they do good with their riches. She says they have at some time earned the right to possess those riches, and they are being tested. What they possess in the future seems to depend upon what use they make of what they possess in the present. So you see, life after all seems pretty just, doesn't it? Learn these truths now, Natasha dear, and teach them to your friends. Do not wait until the time of your coming over here. HPB says it is not true generosity to give recklessly, however. Thought and common sense must be used always. Only the really needy should be reached, and not too much help should be given at once. This would make weak people weaker. The best help, she says, is the kind that helps people help themselves, and that way they grow stronger and more reliant. I asked her about imposters. You know, Natasha, how often I was approached by them. HPB's answer was, if I had not the vision to distinguish from true from false, I would rather give aid to an impostor than lose the chance of helping one who might really be needy. Henry Watts says that all souls need some kind of help. We must share whatever we have, whether it be possessions or knowledge. So this is what makes that thought force substance of which homes are built. I wish I had known this in my earth life. I would have done many things differently. But you can depend on it now that I'm going to try to put what I learn into action. I want to progress. I would like to become a guide. But friends of my profession whom I have met here tell me I had better stick to the theater. It turns out that the unusual magnetism I possessed when appearing on the screen was due to the fact that I have been an actor in previous lives. I wish I knew what those lives were and who I was. I am told that an account of all one's experiences are indelibly stamped on the great records and can be reviewed in the astral light. But one cannot do this until one has learned how or earned the right. This is another thing I am anxious to learn. You see, there are a good many things that make life fascinating. My friends have taken me to see the theaters. They are enormous and very beautiful. They are also built of thought substance, but of that thought substance which comes from true poets' ideals. You cannot imagine how wondrous in form and color these theaters are. In these theaters, many thousands of spectators are enabled to watch the performances. The plays are great dramas of the soul. For these theaters, the writers create for the joy of creating and not for the need of money. So, of course, marvelous plays are to be seen. All the great actors act in them. But there is a strange difference in the acting here and the acting on earth. On the earth plane, a clever artist can portray any part given to him by a manager. Not so here. There is more cleverness here. All is sincerity. No artist can portray a single emotion that his soul is not capable of expressing in reality. There is no imitation. There is no assuming, and all is real. All is genuine and true. An actress cannot play a role of noble quality unless she has truly developed that noble quality in her own soul. There is no sham here. A man cannot portray a king unless he is majestic in character or soul. On earth, the passion play comes nearest to this sincere expression. Artists are not allowed to play evil roles unless the evil to be portrayed has been overcome by artists themselves in some former life experience. Evil is only portrayed to serve a purpose and to heighten the effect of the good. There is no scenery on the stage in the sense that there is scenery in the earth-world theaters. The mood and purpose of the play create a thought substance reflecting it, and this substance, colored accordingly, forms a great and perfectly natural background for the performance. And the actors, according to the emotions being expressed, give off thought forms, brilliant or somber, according to the particular emotion. These thought forms playing against the background of the mood from a marvelous symphony of color. No words are actually spoken as upon earth. The ideas are all expressed in thought. And as ideas are universal, all earth-plane languages merge into one in this afterlife. So the spectators, no matter what their language on earth might have been, understand fluently a thought language of drama. Oh, Natasha, I know you would love it. Yes, I feel I do belong to the theater, and I shall be so happy when they let me begin to play, even in the parts they give me at first. I am told there is no jealousy among the artists as there is on earth in the earth world. There cannot be. Everyone knows he can only play what he is fitted for by soul experience. Here no one can step in and play another's part, for there are no two emotions alike. Life is too many-sided for that. All work together in harmony, intent upon the purpose of that drama and of the service it will give to the spectators. The force is gone. I cannot communicate any longer. I have more to say on this and will continue another time. The Fifth Revelation, Juan Lapin, September 1926. I have been taken to hear some wonderful operas. You remember how much I loved music. The operas are not given in theaters, as in the earth plane, but in immense and very wonderful temples. Music here is sacred, and is always listened to in reverence. Do not let this alarm you, Natasha. When you hear the kind of music it is, you will understand. You have no music like it in the earth world. I would not be able to tell you all about this if it were not for the fact that Caruso explained it to me. It is he who took me to listen to the opera. He also took me all over the temple. Caruso sings here very often, as do all the many singers who have come over. Enrico says that the great composers here know that life itself is music. They have learned to strike the keynote of many vibrations. Of course, they have not mastered them all, but they are constantly studying to do so. Since everything is vibration, you can see what a study it is. In this way, Caruso says, real and true music is created. Music that mirrors every emotion the human entity is capable of expressing. Also, the multitudinous sounds of the natural world and the unearthly music of the planets in motion. In the earth plane, the number of keys is very limited, there being only 24 scales, Caruso says. But here, composers have discovered that the number is unlimited. There are as many keys as there are different vibrations. That is why music is such a vast and inexhaustible subject. Earth-plane ears could not define those keys of which I speak. Only the inner ear, the psychic ear, the soul's true ear is fine enough to catch these sounds. But Natasha, music composed in these keys is so exquisitely sublime that it lifts the listening soul to the very heights of ecstasy. Caruso says that if earth-plane ears could hear it, the intense vibration effect upon the nervous stem would be so great as to shatter. Music here is not used only to please the senses or to appeal the intellect. It has far higher purposes. HPB says it is the idealized soul of vibration and therefore has unlimited power for good or bad depending upon how it is directed. It is used to harmonize large bodies of people. It is used to key them to a higher pitch, so that in this way they are lifted to a higher plane, temporarily for purposes of instruction. Certain planets are also communicated with by means of this kind of music. I asked HPB about this, and she explained it, but I do not think I can give it to you as clearly as she did to me. But it seems that each planet has its particular keynote or scale, and that everything on that planet has a keynote that is in relationship with the main scale. I hope I'm saying this so you will understand. My language may not be technical enough, but I'm doing my best. The music by which the North Star is reached is particularly magnetic in attractive quality and rather metallic in tone. There are planetary spirits, you know, and HPB says those of the North Star are adepts in guidance. That is why in the Earth world it has been used as a focus point for adventurous travelers from time immemorial. All compasses point towards it. She says if people who are confused and lost on their way, as it were, would only collect themselves and become calm enough to turn to the spirits of the North Star, their confusion would cease, and they would find guidance. Whenever you lose your way, Natasha, in the mazes of life, turn to find the right direction from the vibrations of the North Star. She calls this star Isis. It affects other worlds than the Earth world. The music of Venus is glowing and vibrant with vital force, says HPB. I can't remember what she said about Mercury, but the music of Saturn and Uranus was described as exotic and hypnotic and could be used for evil if people knew how. Neptune's music, she said, is so peculiar that Earth people would never comprehend it. It would sound to them either like a thunderous roar or else like a faint twinkling of a wavelet against a wavelet. The music of the moon is calm but compelling. It acts, she says mesmerically, upon all fluids. Composers who are able to tap inspiration from the moon vibration are always able to sway and win their listeners by their creations. Such inspiration is hauntingly beautiful, yet strangely pale and metallic in coloring. The sun music, as HPB explained it, well, here are her words, quote, a drenching dew of heaven's melody, life-giving, sustaining, creating. It is the music of eternal creation, of joy unlimited. Every soul echoes it, she says, but earth souls are deafened by its tremendous harmonies and do not realize that it is the symphony of their life. There are other planets, the music of which she described, but I could not retain all this learning at one time. The greatest of all planetary music, she said emphatically, was that of Isis, the magnetic star of the north. Guardian spirits of certain souls in the earth world often use music to quell storms and to avert disaster when it does not interfere with karmic laws. You know, there are stories and legends of sailors hearing strange music in the midst of storms and of the waters being mysteriously calmed. These stories are founded on psychic facts. Certain healings are also affected by it. Florence Nightingale, the well-remembered nurse of your world, told me this. She says that very often patients lying near death's door hear, as in a dream, glorious voices or ethereal music, and are soon after restored to health and afterlife. And how often, she says, does the departing soul hear this wondrous music of the spheres as it leaves the body and is received beyond the veil? Oh, Natasha, cara mia, that veil is not away, nor is it so thick as earth people like to believe. The operas are given as dramas here, only the scenic display of color is far greater. You, with your earthly conceptions, cannot begin to conceive the intricate beauty and glory of this color play. Music seems to show itself in colors more vivid and more piercingly bright than do the thought forms. Not long ago, I think that is how to say it, for I seem to have lost track of time here, I heard Caruso in an opera called The Journey of the Soul. When I say I heard Caruso in it, I say so because he seems nearer to me than others. But I heard many great singers in it. There were great choruses, visible and invisible. At one time the music rose to such a height of grandeur that other planes were contacted, and we heard the answering choruses from those planes. This is one of the most remarkable things I have learned about music here, how it does not seem to be just a finished thing of itself as an opera in the earth world is. Here music links with other music and other planes. Of course, I cannot begin to understand how or why this is so, but it is so. Natasha, I have never heard anything like this opera in all my experience. You can see I do not say in all my life anymore. My whole soul wept for joy. Caruso's voice soared out to us like the tones of some great organ, and the colors that poured from his aura while he sang were infinite in variety, brilliant shades of gold, and many tones of violet and purple. There were flashes of silver, too, at times, in a color I have never seen before, a kind of color between silver and copper, with a pale green such as you see in certain metals mixed in with it. There are so many colors here that we cannot see in the earth life. You, above all people, would be thrilled with all this color. At one time during the opera, I suddenly lost all sense of sight or sound or feeling. The prismatic display disappeared. I no longer heard the music, and I was no longer swayed by the emotion. I became frightened and turned to HPB, who sat beside me. She laughed and said, "Little fool, it is simply that your soul has not progressed enough yet to be able to comprehend this part of the opera. These colors are beyond your present powers of visualization. This music is too high a rate of vibration for your soul to feel. Have patience. Learn to wait and grow." Wasn't that curious? What would I do without HPB? There must be something good in me to have attracted her as a helper. I always seem to be able to understand her words, and they are indelibly stamped on my memory. I do not forget the things she says. This is all I can tell you about music, for it is all I have learned. I am so anxious to study and learn. Are you pleased that I'm doing so? Before I leave, I want to tell you that after the opera, I was so excited. I wanted to bring you and your astral body while you slept to experience one too. I asked the spirit of Henry Watts about it, but he said I must not attempt it. To do so took great experience, and of course I am too new here yet. He said if I tried, I might do you great harm. But all the same, I wish you could hear and see one. It is really worth dying just to experience this indescribable beauty. I still love beauty just as much as I did on earth. Buona notte for the present. I will come again soon. I feel so happy, so fortunate to be able to reach you again. And you, carissima, you know why. The Sixth Revelation, Juan-le-Pin, October 1926. It seems so strange to me now, as I look back on my earth life, how blind to realities we are on the verge of truths, and yet in our blindness pass them by. If only our inner vision were more developed. There would then be no misunderstandings, ridiculous and foolish as they always are when looked back upon, such as yours and mine. Had we that keener vision, we would see that such petty difficulties are only like winter frost on a window pane, frost that would melt at the first warm breath of a word of love. But no, we do not wait to even try to see. We act at once, impetuously and without reason. Our anger, muddy red and blinding and bewildering, suffices our facilities, clogs our perceptive channels, and altogether drags us downward. HPB has explained this so well to me because at first I was quite confused as I looked back upon our differences and our parting. Now it is all much clearer to me. She says that when this red cloud of anger surges over us, it attracts, through appearing in our aura, the attention of destructive entities, both human and elemental. This muddy color is to them an invitation to advance. They swarm about us and through our consciousness. Their delight in destruction and their intense desire to drag down other souls to their own level is so great that our anger is intensified. We finally, when we give in to anger repeatedly, fall under their domain entirely. These entities do not let go easily. Their method of victimizing is poisonously patient. You and I were both headstrong and prone to rapid anger, and HPB has shown me how we both attracted destructive forces that ended our earth-plane union disastrously. But now we know this was only frost upon the windows of our souls. The unclouded vision of my spirit has melted that now. It is so, too, with people I did not like very much when in the earth life. Now, as I look at them and see beneath their surfaces, I see a great deal in them to love. They would no doubt laugh if I told them this, but ignorant laughter never changes truth, does it? It is very easy to scoff, but truth remains truth all the same. If we insist upon learning it in our earthly existence, we shall most certainly learn it here. We could not avoid learning it even if we wished, as our eyes become clear-seeing and these verities stand out most startling. Thank heaven I was always adaptable to my surroundings. This faculty stands me in good stead here. HPB says it is on account of this that I am acquiring knowledge of this plane so rapidly. She says adaptability is a sense of unity and leads eventually to oneness. This place where I am living is the astral plane, but that term is very expansive. When we used to get automatic messages about it, I always thought it was a realm of rather low spirits. Now I find that while it does take in those misguided spirits, always very close to the earth, it still embraces many progressed souls as well. All these lovely places I have told you of are in it. It seems to be, as far as I can make out, a plane of progression, where many problems are worked out. It is a place where souls are awakened to realities. It is a sense of purgatory for the Roman Catholics. I used to worry a good deal about purgatory. Well, here I am in it, and I do not find it anything other than interesting. Of course, if I were stubborn and clinging to old desires and prejudices and jealousies and quarrels, I should likely find it a pretty lonely place. There are the lonely ones here, the discouraged ones, and the evil ones too. But help when sought is ever present. How thankful I am to know this. It is strange how people in the earth world like to say that communications are possible, but only from the ignorant, evil, and misguided spirits. Being the nearest to earth does not in any way make them the nearest to humanity at large. In fact, the guides tell me that it separates them more completely. They are near only to people who attract them and who are somewhere in their natures of like caliber. But there are exceptions. Under certain conditions, these souls are allowed to communicate for purposes of gaining deliverance for themselves. At other times, to serve as illustrations to certain lessons the guides are giving. Natasha, dear, if such undeveloped souls are in any manner able to communicate or appear to people on the earth, does it not stand to reason that more advanced souls that were helpers and teachers in the earth life, would, with their keener intelligence, soon find a way to communicate their knowledge of this afterlife? Why am I striving to communicate with you? Because I love you, and I love the people of the earth. If my new learning that I am gaining every minute, hour after hour, every atom of time is of profit to you, it may be of profit to others, and so I am making haste to give it to you and to that world. How fortunate I am to have so trained and facile an instrument to come through. Of course, Natasha, I am helped to do so by several spirits. Sometimes it is Annie, the mother of the medium, who assists me to hold myself in the medium's vibration. Sometimes it is Henry Watts, or Ami, or Alestis, or UK, and often it is HPB herself. You see, it is this way. Being now in the life of the spirit, I am vibrating at a much more rapid rate than when in a physical body. I could come to you, or Muzzy, or Uncle Dickie, or Aunt Tessie, and speak all day, and yet you would not hear me. Your vibration is so much slower, and you can sense things in your own vibrations. But mediums are vastly different. Thank God for the power that lets such peculiar organisms exist. They are so constituted as to possess variable rates of vibrations. When a medium is to be used, he is put in working order by special guides who have made a study of this. White Cloud, the old Ojibwa Indian, is the guide who does this for George. Now I will tell you exactly how I communicate with you, Natasha. You decide to have a seance. You and Muzzy, Aunt Tessie, and Uncle Dickie. You are all seated in your chairs in a circle. George in his easy chair. We call it the receiving station. George relaxes, and making his mind a blank, I don't know any other way to express it, leaves his body. His mother takes charge of his soul in his astral body and takes care of the astral cord, for it is the connecting link between spirit and matter. His mother is the best one to do this service, as she is nearest to him in vibrational key. In a way, it is fortunate for George's psychic work that his mother has passed to the life of the spirit. White Cloud takes charge always of the sleeping physical body, which is limp and empty now. The body is now vibrating much more rapidly than in normal activity. The blood is drawn magnetically inward around the nerve centers, spinal cord, and brain. The body is giving out certain musical sounds, if you could but hear them. Sometimes there is not enough magnetism in the medium's body to accomplish the entrance of a spirit. So a surplus is drawn from the sitters, from Muzzy, Aunt Tessie, Uncle Dickie, and from you. Other guides do that, Henry Watts, or Ami, or Blackfeather. When enough magnetism is obtained, we, by means of it, animate it, often clumsily at first, and speak to you as best we can. At first I could not learn to enter the body very well and could only get in a word or two. That was because I was told to focus my mind upon lowering my vibrations to the rate of the medium's. This is done through sound. The sound I spoke of coming from the medium's body is the pitch we have to key our vibrations to. We sing in our mind the same tone, as it were. I hope I'm making this clear. I'm trying to do the best to do so. But I found this extremely hard to do. When I started to speak to you, I would forget to keep the vibration note in mind, and immediately up would go my vibration, and I would find myself out of George's body. Then White Cloud would help me to be drawn in again by the attraction to the magnetic current. I could hear you all saying, "Oh, don't go, Rudy. Come back and talk to us." You can see that it takes practice to be able to enter a body, stay there, and speak clearly and fluently to our loved ones. That is why with many mediums, Henry Watts explains, the messages are sometimes so trifling and incoherent. But George's vibration is unusually steady most of the times, and that is why we can control him for so long a time and speak so definitely and clearly through him. Now, about names, Natasha dear, you and others have remarked how often spirits are able to give their names clearly through George's mediumship. And when you were to many other mediums, you got very few names. The reason for this, I find, also has to do with sound. Our given name is the name that belongs to us inherently. At any rate, the name identifies us, whether it was a baptismal name or a name assumed. It is the part of the full name that represents us. Now it seems that this name is some way, as yet unexplained to me, is a power, a vibrational power. And whenever it is thought of or called into being, it sounds its individual keynote. When during communication we are keeping our mind on the vibrational rate, tone, in order to stay in the body and attempt to give our name to you, the keynote of the name sounds. This, confusing with the vibrational rate note, upsets our concentration and sometimes dislodges us entirely from the body and causes us to mumble or give the name indistinctly. Try it and see. And the moment you let go of the medium's vibrational rate tone, which keys you to him, up bobs your own vibration, and you have let go of the control. I am afraid I have repeated a lot in explaining this, but as it appears rather complicated, I cannot seem to help it. With a medium like George, whose vibration is generally steady, it is much easier to hold the tone, as his tone is not so constantly wobbling up and down as in the case of many. At the beginning, when I could control in this way hardly at all, I would give up trying and would tell White Cloud to say things to you for me. Spirits coming to a particular medium for the first time are seldom able to control unless they have had experience in coming through other mediums. The method of control is practically the same with all mediums, I am told, although I have not tried any number yet. I am having the time of my life learning all these ways and means. Life existence is the most fascinating study. I am filled with the joy of it. I have much more to tell you, but the force is growing less now, and I must let up my control. I will come again soon. The Seventh Revelation, Juan Le Pen, October 1926. One thing that pleases me beyond everything is that I find a nature world here just as in the earth world. Only here it is more radiant. I think this is the world nearest to what I mean anyway, and far more beautiful. There are plains, mountains, rivers, lakes, trees, flowers, and birds. The trees seem greater in height, and their lofty branches are heavier with foliage, and of a green far clearer than on earth. The flowers are intensely brilliant. They do not seem composed of the firm petals we are used to in the earth life. They seem to be instead forms of living color, vibrating or constantly glowing, as it were. This is hard for me to describe. HPB says I am still so new to this change of dimension that I keep comparing things to the old way. These glowing color forms are the soul of the flowers, their bodies left on earth to decompose and to mold. I notice a much clearer and stronger fragrance with these soul flowers. HPB has told me that the perfume of flowers in the earth plane consists of the effect of the flowers' auras on your olfactory nerve centers. She says that this fragrance, these various odors, are in themselves color emanations. The mortal eye is not developed enough to see them, but the sense of smell catches the vibration. So you see, Natasha, it all comes back to vibration. HPB also says that if people's noses were as dull as their eyes, scientists would probably swear up and down that flowers gave forth no odors. She says that every flower gives out some kind of fragrance because souls of any kind whatsoever possess auras. But some of these perfumes are too delicate for even the sense of smell to detect. People therefore claim such flowers to be odorless. HBB told me that mediumistic eyes often see these perfume vibrations, and some people, she explained, are so sensitive that they are able to feel these flowers' vibrations. This idea seems to make sound, color, taste, feeling, and odor to be simply different effects of the same cause, different degrees of vibration. At least this is how I have figured it out so far. I asked HPB if that didn't reduce life to just different expressions of the same thing. Yes, dear child, and that thing is God, and God is love, and love is expression, and expression is creation, and creation is truth, and truth is 9 multiplied by 9 indefinitely, which reaches back to God again. And so the circle of life is complete. I guess she thinks I ask an awful lot of questions, but she always takes the trouble to answer me. There seems to be every variety of flowers that you have on earth blooming here, with many others I have never seen before. The beauty of these astral flowers is beyond my power of description. Many of them are geometric in form and color effect, and some are very complicated in structure. There are such quantities of these curious astral flowers, new to me, that I have only learned to know a few of them. There is a kind whose blossoms twist upward in a spiral, the top cluster ending in a point. These are of every hue that a prism is capable of giving off. They are called flames of the soul. Another extremely interesting kind is popularly called heartbeats. But HPB says that they are real immortals. They are very delicate and have but one pendant heart-shaped blossom of glowing white light. A current of red life force is continuously coursing through the center of the semi-transparent blossom, pulsating like a heartbeat. These flowers are so sensitive, and reacting to conditions or vibrations to which they have been keyed, that spirits use them as a kind of barometer by which they gauge the health of their earth friends and the state of affairs around them. It is a most curious plant. I have not seen a house here that does not have them blooming in a garden. One can see many spirits going earthward, carrying these beautiful plants. They take them to earth and leave them for a while in the houses of their loved ones. The beating heart flowers in some way become tuned to the true keynote of the vibration of the earth personality through absorbing the auric emanation. And they retain this vibrational pitch until the earth death of the person to whose vibrations they have become tuned. Later, the spirits take back these flowers to their own homes on the astral plane, and by noting the pulsation of the red life force within the transparent white flower, they can tell exactly the condition of the earth person, whether he is calm or agitated, well or ill, and even when he is going to die. Spirits seem to be very happy when a beating heart flower shows them the coming death of a relative or friend. They all get together in a meeting, something like our parties of the earth world, with singing and dancing. They are all so pleased that another soul is coming into the realness of life. Do not be surprised that I say there is dancing over here. Everyone dances, but not exactly in the way of the earth. It is mostly symbolic, and is the expression in action of one's higher emotions. I can well imagine some of our friends, Natasha, thinking this is rather highbrow, but let me tell you, it is not so. The music is so wonderful that everyone is caught up by it, and just lets go and expresses themselves in rhythm. You will enjoy it when you come over because you are a natural dancer. High souls like to tell you there is no jazz here, but that is not quite true. There is, but you have to know where to find it. Wally Reed has told me all about it, and he even took me to see it. You will find this kind of dancing on the lower astral plane, that past of the astral world that dovetails into the earth. So all that sort of thing is quite new to you. I will tell you more about these people at another time. You will be pleased to hear that I have met Vernon Castle again. He is just the same charming fellow. He told me a good deal about dancing, too. Vernon says that for the people still on earth, dancing is very excellent. He explained to me how dancing sets in motion within the physical body currents of nerve force that go spiraling up the spinal cord until they reach two glands in the brain called pituitary and pineal. These glands are great psychic centers. Vernon told me that the lower forms of dancing are not good, and because of their attracting deteriorating entities, they hinder a soul's progress. They stir lower desires and allow the wrong kind of elementals, nature spirits, and sensual human spirits to use a hypnotic influence on the mind. It seems these spirits have a way of merging themselves into the physical bodies they contact by these means, and are then able to experience more sensation. The study of these facts is more fascinating to me, and it throws light on many things that puzzled me during my earth life. I now understand the causes for the actions of certain people I used to meet, and whom I am afraid I was too ready to condemn. Now I know why they threw their life chances to the winds, allowing themselves to be controlled by entities through their lower desires, and I am very sorry for them. Dear wild Hollywood, the scene of my struggles and my triumphs, what a place it is of undeveloped souls. There are wonderful souls there. There are broken souls there. And there are many souls that might be great were they not being suffocated by the intense materialism of that artificial life. With the knowledge I now have of life gained by my clearer perceptions and the help of my teachers, I would not care to return to the life of Hollywood. Life there is superficial and a sham, and such conditions are not lasting. I always did love out of doors and nature, and that, I think, is what sustained me through it all. Over here I find that nature is so very important. People do not realize its importance in their lives. It is important because it is so closely linked to us, to the physical body, and at the same time with inner character. Earth bodies are composed of the elements of earth. The same currents of force flow through them, and all the beauty that the earth can produce is reflected in our inner character. Oh, Natasha, I want to tell people to go out among the trees and flowers and birds. Tell your friends to do so. Look up gladly into the blue ether overhead and realize that greater planes of life are there. Then look around at the gloriousness of nature and realize that a great plane lies there. Then try to consider how closely joined together are all these planes, like the links of a beautiful chain. The thought of planes linking together will give you the idea of brotherhood. Never feel sorry when you see trees falling before the woodcutter's axe. HPB says the nature world gladly serves humanity, and by doing so fulfills its mission, destiny, or purpose, and finds its evolution and advancement. Perhaps I do not know just how to say this. Of course, ruthless destruction, I am told, is waste, and waste is very wrong. Service is quite another matter. The force is gone. I have more to give another time, and will come again.